In my film, I represented what can be seen as typical teenagers. For my perfect audience member, I decided to pick someone who is slightly hipster-like and keeps up with their social media because of the nature of my film and the fact that it revolves around forms of media and how teenagers of today communicate. To further show this, I will evaluate the character of Poppy and her lifestyle. The typical popular teenager of the 21st century is one who is portrayed on TV and in the media in general as a partier and someone who possibly binge drinks too much. I chose this negative stereotype to highlight because I think a lot of people believe in this stereotype or can relate it to someone they know who gets a little bit out of control and doesn't take responsibility for their actions. Poppy is seen as a typical teenager who messed up and causes a conflict and now must face her consequences. Through the use of mise-en-scene, the audience can clearly tell the typical party scene, as well as the eerie times in the film. Through the sound and dialogue, I show that Poppy doesn't understand what she did and can't fix it, and that she's in trouble and has to run from her problems, which I show through the suspenseful score as well. The shots are important in my film because I use many point-of-view shots to put the audience in the shoes of Poppy, as well as keep them interested and hopefully relate to my demographic. I also use high and low angle shots and close-ups to hint to the audience the different portrayals of the characters, and I try to subtly show the different layers that every story has.
Sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. I gotta go.
Through the special effects and cinematography, I chose to add different effects like the blur on the party scene to portray the intoxication of Poppy and make it more realistic to the viewer, while adding the element of suspense that is typical to the horror genre. I also added other effects such as overlaying bits of my film on top of each other to make the film more interesting to watch while representing the horror genre and thriller genre overall. Overall, I tried to portray how a typical teenager makes mistakes that become much bigger than themselves and how it's a slippery slope between a small conflict and total destruction.